Good morning and welcome to KTN Life and Style. This is Inspiration Monday. My name is Mugure Gaduru.
And I'm Catherine Mwangi. Thank you so much for joining us. We're here at Victoria Court along Mombasa Road. That's right next to Standard Group. And today we have a great show.
Yes. Have you ever borrowed money before?
Weh. Siniulize maswali
Kabla
private.
show ulikuwa umeniomba pesa. Let's just put it out there. Yeah. Catherine borrowed money
We
from
do not
me.
lie on Inspiration Monday. What are you doing?
Anyways, on our topic on perspectives today, we're talking about the debt trap. I know you're in that trap. Let us not lie. Sawa?
You're talking to them, right?
No, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you.
I did not see this coming.
So that's what I have for my people today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Starting with myself or yourself?
Yes. Yourself? Miss Jayomba Pesa, Sijayomba Pesa.
Oh my gosh.
So what do you have?
The ones who deny it are the ones living that life. I know you know, right?
I have to maintain a certain, lifestyle.
Maintain?
I'm on TV, yeah.
Oh, social media thing.
Yes. See what I did there? I see what you did. Yes.
Okay, so on Inspo Hub, what you have is incredible entrepreneurs. Guys who are doing incredible things with themselves for the sake of others. And as you know, what we do is celebrating people like that who do not want to be distracted, they're focused, and they're young. Okay, so that's my deal.
Oh, sounds like an awesome.
Yeah, it should be. So you go learn how to get out of Deni. You know those Talas and MKCB M-Pesa that you flourish in.
Yes.
You go do your thing. Then I will see you, all of you, when she's done.
Okay.
All right. Ciao.
Ciao. Have you ever borrowed money before, or even now, be it from a family member, a friend, a bank, a Shylock? Have you? I'm sure at some point you have. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the debt trap. And that is our topic for today. Good morning and welcome to Perspectives. My name is Mugure. And to talk about debt, we have two amazing guests who I will let introduce themselves. Karibuni sana. We can start from my extreme left.
Thank you. My name is Peter Masharia. I'm the MD CEO for Jijenge Credit. And we lend against logbooks, title deeds, salaries, and we lend to all Kenyans at very competitive rates.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
My name is Roy Okonji. I'm a debt management and life coach, a motivational speaker and author. I train, I speak about the subject of debt and money management in the corporate spaces to individuals and all other organizations. I also run a debt clinic where I journey with people who feel pressed by debt one-on-one, just encouraging them not to give up, not to commit suicide, and just telling them that it can be done, because it's a journey I have walked and it's a journey that I have witnessed many walk. Thank you.
So Patrick, maybe you can tell us, how exactly does your business work? If I wanted to come get a loan, well, what's the step?
It's very simple, thank you. We ask for, or rather we wait for people who are interested in debt. And our business, I think it's the simplest business that you can undertake. So it's, the financial need it's like air, it's like oxygen. Everybody will need money.
Yeah.
So once you come to organization, we ask for your ID, your PIN, your bank statement, because basically we need to know who you are, and we need to verify whether it's actually you who is borrowing using those documents. It's not your brother or your sister who is borrowing, who has taken your ID and come to us to borrow. So we ask for those due diligence documents that help us or enable us to identify you positively. The ID, we counter-check it with the IPRS system, that is the National National Registration Bureau. We also check whether that is the only ID that you have, because you might find some Kenyans lose their ID or misplace their ID, get a police abstract, then come back with the old one, which they had imported lost or stolen.
Yeah.
And if you undertake any transaction with an old ID, that's a null and void transaction, because he or she already has a legal document saying that that particular ID number, serial number, ABC, is lost. So the essence of counter-checking the IPRS system is to ensure that the serial number of that particular ID is not for the old ID. Then the other important thing we ask for is this bank statement and the M-Pesa statement. These ones also help us to counter-check and also reaffirm that somebody else uses the same documents to positively identify you and transact with you, either by way of opening an account or by offering a service. Then the PIN is, we are not allowed to deal with a Kenyan who does not pay Caesar his money.
Yeah.
That is, we are all Kenyans, we need roads, we need hospitals. So be a KRA compliant person. You also contact whether you're also KRA compliant. Thereafter, you ask for some form of security. Actually, security is the last item down the road. The essence of securing the facilities to ensure that our organization will be paid, or rather, Jijenge credit will be paid at the end of the day. The other essence of asking for bank statements is to confirm that indeed you have a regular income, and more so that income is able to service the facility. If you are salaried, we are bound by the commitment rule. You are not supposed to commit your salary more than 70%. Therefore, if you have other debt, loans, we should not give you a loan that will exceed 70% of all the loans and statutory deductions. Statutory deductions are NSSF, NHIF, KRA, PAYE, all those deductions. So now the 30% that is left for your salary is for sustenance. That is transport, going to the supermarket, feeding, clothing, and maybe paying school fees. If all those items are okay, we now go to the other check, which is usually not mandatory. We usually check with the 3 CRB organizations, that is Metropol, TransUnion, and Credit Info. We have a contract with them. We want to know whether the debts you've taken earlier, do you pay them? And if you don't pay, we ask ourselves this question: if we now give you additional debt, will you pay us? At that point, we might sit you down and get to ask a few questions here and there, whether there is any other source of finances that they're expecting, any additional incomes that they are expecting, or maybe are they planning to make a sale so they can offset the debt with us. If that person is not listed, we don't even, and it's clearly showing in the CRB portal, we proceed and we assess the asset. For the asset, if it's a car, we don't give, we lend, we don't give 100%, we give a certain percent of the for sale value. Which means, if for example a car is valued at 1 million, you'll get 60% or 80%. And if all those items are correct in the affirmative and in order, we disburse. And the beauty of our organization, we do all those things, we've compressed all those processes in the shortest possible time, that is 1 hour.
Yeah.
So even our tagline is, we give loans, logbook loans in 1 hour. We have valuers on board, we have all the service providers on board, on standby, so that we give our customers a very good customer experience, a seamless service, and give you the service at the shortest time possible. Because the money Jijenge Credit gives is what other organizations, financial institutions give. So the difference should be the service delivery and the customer experience.
So Roy, they have gone to Patrick, taken a loan, and then now they can't pay up. And
Yes.
then now they're depressed and stressed and on the verge of committing suicide.
Yes.
So where do they find you
Uh-huh.
after Patrick has caused the damage?
Actually, the ideal situation, and the reason why you'll find me doing a lot of sensitization,
Yeah.
is because I believe debt management does not necessarily need to start after you're in trouble.
Yes.
And that is why I've always argued that we need to have financial education as a common course all over. Actually, we need to start learning about money in school from as early as possible.
Yeah.
That then is the preventive side, because then when you get a job or you're in business, then you know how to manage your money, and that means when you go to Peter to get money, you know what you want to do with the money, and you have the discipline required to do that which you wanted to do with that money. Anyway, be as it may, you have gone to Peter
Yes.
and you've taken the money, and for one reason or the other, you are not able to pay. If it's a business person, because you see, before we start treating the issue, we have to understand exactly what is it that has pushed you into not being able to repay. Because when Peter was assessing you, they saw the ability to repay. They have given you their money, so how come you are not able to pay? Chances are high. I think it was in 2014 or 2015, I did some private study on business borrowers, and I realized that over 80% of business borrowers who are in default, at some point they diverted either part or whole of the money they borrowed. So you're borrowing for your business to do 1, 2, 3, but when you get the money, you choose to use a portion of the money to finance something different from what you were given money to do.
Yeah.
Some people actually take the entire amount. They'll come and tell Peter, give me this money to increase my stock. Peter gives them money to increase their stock, but when they get the money, they go and finance a wedding or something else. What you're simply doing is creating a future emergency, because Peter's repayment is supposed to come from the growth that will come as a result of the financing he has given you. So when you took the money to finance something different, and that means your business will not encounter that growth. Therefore, repayment will be problematic. If it's an individual, many things happen. Perhaps when they were coming to Peter, they were already struggling with debt. They were actually perhaps borrowing to pay a different person. They'll come and have a very nice, interesting story that will lure Peter into giving them money. But when they get the money, they go and pay other people. So that means they were already struggling. Or perhaps they lose their income or whatever reason. Now, at the debt clinic level, this is where we're doing it one-on-one, because these things are private and personal, right? So people will reach out. They will call, they will write and say, I want us to have a session. And there's a template that I'll send to them for them to complete. It's a simple template that I call the disclosure template. It helps you come to terms with your reality. I realize that human beings will rarely, for instance, make a list of the people they owe. It's easy to list the money you expect, how you will spend it, the investments you're planning to do, but we forget to list the people we owe. So then I came up with a template that will help you have a picture of exactly where you are, because I strongly believe that you cannot effectively come out of a hole if you don't appreciate the depth of that hole. So they will complete the template, then we will make an appointment when we will get to meet and now have the conversation. Now, proper debt management begins with what I call acceptance. There's a formula that I developed that I use to guide people. I call it the ADSA 4-stage approach. And the first A is acceptance. Just like any other problem, you can never solve a problem whose existence you still deny. How do you know you're still in denial? If you're still borrowing to cover up, you're still in denial, right? If you're struggling and you can't open up to yourself the fact that you are struggling financially, you're still in denial. If you're living and saying, one day, God will make a way, it is good to be hopeful and trust God to make a way. But if you're just seated and saying, I'm waiting for that one day, then you're also still in denial, right? So you have to come to the point of acceptance. So what happens at the acceptance stage is you working on your mind. My argument is you don't start solving the problem of debt with money.
Yeah.
So many people have paid off their debts and vowed that if they cleared this one, they will never go back to borrow again. But after 6 months, they are deeper than they were before. It's because they didn't treat it here, right? So the acceptance stage helps you to acknowledge a few facts. Helps you, for example, to accept that you are responsible for what has happened to you. That you are not blaming anyone else for your current financial situation. You also get to accept that where you are is not a condemnation, it's not cast in stone. It can actually be reversed. You get to accept that your previous behavior and conduct with money has been wanting. Perhaps you need to change a few other things. You get to accept that no one else will do this change for you. You have everything it takes to make the change as long as you want that change. You get to accept that it is doable. You also get to accept that the time to start that journey is now. It's usually a process. So when someone comes and we're having a one-on-one, then I begin to gauge their level of acceptance. We will do a conversation just like we're doing here, but I have my own way of gauging whether you have accepted or someone has forced you to come. Because I also get clients who've been forced by their spouses, by their siblings to come.
Which even before we get to the end of the acceptance and solving this debt issue, why do you think people find themselves in debt? Why do people borrow money, take loans, especially the youth? Because that's the current trend right now, especially with our generation. So why do you think they are borrowing money?
It's a good thing you've mentioned the youth. And even in general. If you look at many borrowers, many people borrow blindly, so to speak. They do what I call ability-driven borrowing, right? There's something else I train called purpose-driven borrowing. And if you want to go far with debt, then you need to do purpose-driven borrowing. But today, many people borrow because they qualify. Many people borrow because there's a willing lender. And that is why, you know, these days with mobile debt, for instance, you wake up in the morning and debt is hawked like mangoes. You open your phone and you're told your limit has been enhanced to this, that you qualify for this. Very few people can resist the temptation. Immediately they read the message, they thank God for an answered prayer, even when they didn't have a prayer.
That they've been upgraded
Yes,
to the next.
that they have an extra 1K or so. And therefore they're simply borrowing on ability. Now there's another whole lot that are borrowing to compete, borrowing to fit in. They don't want to miss out, and especially for the young people.
You'd say they're the ones living beyond their means.
They are living beyond their means. They are borrowing so that we can see that they are also present, that they are still there, they are relevant as well. I like saying that such people are not borrowing for themselves. They are borrowing for the people they are competing with. You see, if you see me with a nice phone, and we work in the same office, and tomorrow you want to get a phone better than mine or like mine, then you don't have the money. So you go and borrow to get that phone. What you've done is you've borrowed for me. How do you know you've borrowed for me? If the next day I come with a superior one, you get frustrated.
And so I feel
because
the
you
need
are
to go upgrade again.
You will feel the need to upgrade again. Then there are also those who are borrowing for consumption. Just borrowing to utilize, to buy food, to fuel their cars, to go on holiday, to just consume. And I like saying that if you borrow for consumption, you are shouting to the world two things. Number one is that you are living beyond your means. And number two is that you are living your tomorrow today. Right? Today is like mid-month, for example. And there's someone who has already spent their income for the month. Okay? There are people, after 3 days from the last payday, they're already spending the pay that will come. This is where you're taking money and telling someone, when end month comes, I'll sort you. And so you're sending so many people on that day, so many people. And when payday comes, everyone is lined up. Each of them thought they were the only ones that were giving you money because you're taking money to consume. The danger of borrowing for consumption is that, you know, when you borrow to buy food, the need for food is a continuous need, is a recurrent need.
Yeah.
So tomorrow you'll be hungry again. That means you have to keep borrowing and borrowing.
Yeah.
And before you know it, your financial muscle has been weakened. Because debt is not free money. It comes at a cost. Right? But people don't see that cost at the point of borrowing. What we want is the money to fix the challenge that we have. So those are the major reasons as to why many people fall for borrowing. To just consume, to compete, just because they qualify. I have actually met people who will borrow, get the money, and then start figuring out what they want to do with the money.
It's just for the sake of just borrowing.
Yes, for the sake of just borrowing. I met a person who borrowed and stayed with money in the account for 8 months, trying to imagine what they want to do with the money, but they're feeling good that their account is loaded.
Yes.
You get? So when people are talking about how much money do you have in your account, the guy is able to say, my account has this balance, but at what cost? It's not a saving. It is money you've just gotten and you're paying for it so dearly. So the moment you begin to realize that debt is not free money, then when you go to borrow, you want to borrow for a reason. That is a reason that is going to make you better than you were before you went to borrow. Yes.
So Patrick, can also tell us, why do you think the youth find themselves in this trap of just borrowing money?
Well, thank you. The main thing that especially the youth that makes the youth find themselves trapped in debt is the lack of planning. Just like what my colleague has said, there are those people who just take money. They borrow because they are seeing their peers borrowing, but they've not planned for the money. If you borrow 1 million and you don't know what you plan to use that money for, you'll be in a very big shock, because one, that money is earning interest, and if you don't plan to use that money for capital investment or for income generation, and also when you're planning for that income generation project, the income generated should be able to meet the installment, rather the principal repayment plus the interest that you're supposed to pay. If your calculations are not adding up to that amount, then you're also in for very hot soup, because by the end of the tenure or the period of the loan, you'll have a shortage. You'll have used the money, the loan that you're given, and you need to add money from your own pocket to meet that deficit. That deficit will constitute interest and the loan installment. Therefore, the first and most important thing is to plan. When you're planning, ensure that that money is meant for capital, a capital gain or capital or some income generation. And then the other aspect is ensure that you're mentally and physically and psychologically ready to undertake that project. If it's a business, be ready to do it. Internally, you must be ready for, if you're planning to go and sell tomatoes, you should be ready to go and sell tomatoes, or basically you should be ready to dirty your feet or your hands, because nothing comes easy, and you must put your best foot forward, so that even if you don't get anything in a certain day, hope for the best, so that tomorrow you are able to get some extra, some additional income, and also have the energy to generate that income.
Do you think also the availability of creditors has made it very easy for now the youth to just borrow money? Because now there are even so many apps that you can download on your phone, and as even Roy had said, you find a message, you've been upgraded to the next one, and then you're happy. Do you think it's also part of why the youth find themselves in such positions, especially those who want to live a certain lifestyle that they cannot afford?
Very well. That's another very key point. Convenience of accessing the loans. With the onset of the mobile apps, it's very easy to borrow money, even when you're in a social place at night. Because what the mobile apps have done, they've reduced paperwork. They've made it easy for you to access the mobile lenders. You also lend Jijenge Credit has a mobile app. But in that app, there's a section whereby you're supposed to fill and say you're borrowing this money for A, B, C, D. There was a case whereby somebody was borrowing for gambling to go and use that money
I was actually about to talk about
in a certain.
Yeah.
And believe you me, when I saw that.
And they wrote the reason.
The reason.
Gambling.
Yeah, gambling. To go and bet.
At least they're being honest.
Yeah, they were very honest. So our organization never lends for such cases.
So you rejected.
We rejected. We cancelled the application, and we actually tried to cancel the applicant. What you don't know is after we rejected, maybe he went to another organization that is not so keen, and they disburse the facility. So such kind of lending for gambling, those are the areas that the youth find themselves in, that they are not able to get themselves out, because that money is basically it's money that's going down the drain. At the back of those gambling or sport playing organizations, the bottom line for those organizations is that they can never lose. You put your 1 million there, they can never pay you 1.1 million. Therefore, it's upon various organizations, including the lenders, you're supposed to morally educate the borrowers and tell them if you borrow for the wrong thing, the probability of finding yourself in the deep hole of debt is very high. Another thing that falls also under planning is impulse buying, where you go and find someone with a good phone, a good car, or an item with a for sale tag. You're not planned to buy it, but because it's very well packaged, very well colored, you find yourself buying. When you go home, you realize that this thing was not even meant to be purchased at this moment. Those are the issues that the youth, especially the schools, the lenders, and the service providers for the sport betting platforms should educate the youth and the general public on the needs and uses of borrowing and the repercussions. Like in our organization, Jijenge Credit, when you're applying, there's a section before you sign that requires you to consult, seek even legal advice on why you're borrowing.
That's where now Roy comes in.
Yes, because before you sign that dotted line, you're supposed to consult a few friends and ask them, do I need this 1 million? Do I need this money? Do I need this 100,000? Do I have alternatives? Can I borrow it from a family friend? Can I get a cheaper source of funding? So all those questions should be put forth to the applicant.
Okay. We will talk more about that after the break. Right now, we need to take a short commercial break. Remember, the hashtag is KTN Life and Style. We're talking about the death trap. What has been your experience? Share on us on social media so that we can get to see if you are relating to what we're talking about today. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break.